By the way, the picture is pretty much the Inverted Shadows pony and Gmod personas. If you're interested, he has a YouTube channel, same name. DeviantArt, same name. And he does pretty much some Gmod and some writing, and those are pretty good. You gotta check out his videos. They're fucking awesome. And we're about to experience the written aspect of the Inverted Shadows infamy right now. With Shadowside Chapter 2. We're all caught up. Now let's continue. Mimi had begun walking through the dark forests. Now evidently far from the sanctuary she had been awakening. Her mind was set. She was going to fulfill her destiny, find the Four, and purify this land to what it once was. She was going to make him, her mentor and creator, proud. She had only ventured a mile or so into the woods when she ran into a problem. It was not so much an issue of navigation, as Chio had pointed out to her. Mimi most likely find a way, though, through very easily. The real problem at hand was that the further she went into the brush, the darker it got. And as darkness grew, she began to feel weaker, both physically and mentally. Her brain felt as if it were being crushed in a vice, as she clutched the sides of her head in pain. Kind of like how I felt trying to travel through the Rocky Mountains to California. She began to stumble around the path, trying to keep herself straight, but her vision was blurring heavily. She eventually backed into a deadened tree, trying to relieve herself of the immense pain she was being subjected to. While whimpering in pain, her trembling footsteps guided her right out of the darkness and into a patch of moonlight that was shining through the canopy of branches above her. In a split instant, Mimi's splitting migraine vanished and she felt well again. Looking above, there was a bright full moon, looming above her like a silent guardian. She wondered how could this possibly be? How could she go from kneeling over in pain from a headache to being just 5 seconds later? Then a thought crossed her. Him. She asked, Did you do that? A resounding hearty chuckle rang from the ethereal nothingness. While I control many aspects of this world, the moon above you came about in its natural orbit. But I'm glad I caught you just as you felt that headache of yours. There's something about you that you ought to know. While I cannot kill you, staying in the dark for too long for a period of time will affect your mental and physical well-being. Mind you don't always have to be within any sorts of light 24/7. You can still withstand any amount of dark energy that's thrown against you. If you can balance the amount of time you spend within light and darkness, you'll make great strides, little Mimi. And he was gone once again. Mimi stood there in the glow of the moon, closing her eyes, swaying her head to the sound of the wind against the trees. The whistling of the wind lured her into a peaceful state, but after maintaining the bliss, she felt something brush against her foot. Gasping softly and surprised, she looked down to see what broke her trance. Lying against her foot, moved along only by the wind, was a hat. Dark red top. A dark red top hat, with what appeared to be a small bullet belt wrapped around the headband, secured by a gear-shaped buckle. Before it could get blown away from her, Mimi imagined she just barely grabbed the rim of the hat. She curiously held it and looked over every part of it like a child would marvel over a new toy. I don't know why this found me or why I found it, but maybe I'll find whoever owns it, if there's anyone else out here. That's where her hand began to glow, a translucent orb of light enveloping it. The orb grew bigger until it was roughly half the size of her head. When she held her hand up in front of her, the orb separated itself from her, hovering in front of her as if it could feel her. Mimi heard angelic whispers coming from the orb she had spawned. It was only when she realized why it had shown itself that she was overcome with fear and relief. As she had been looking over the strange hat, she had been paying attention to where she was walking, which was further in the forest, where branches on the trees had gotten so thick that they all but completely blocked out the moon's illumination. She figured it explained why she felt another small headache before. Wherever Mimi walked, the orb of light stayed right in front of her, almost as if it were guiding her through the shadow of the forest. Basking in small warmth as she walked, she suddenly asked, "Did you ever get the feeling that somebody's watching us, little guy?" Her response was another angelic whisper. Then the orb swung out in a large arc around her, as if to show that there was no one else around. I have a feeling we're dealing with Navi, if I remember right. Looks of it. This got a small giggle out of Mimi. "Looking out for me, are you?" The orb chipped, and she smiled as she continued walking down the beaten path. But even with a scented lantern guiding her, she could not help but look around her to double-check her surroundings. She could swear she heard a raspy, sultry voice speaking to her, but when she looked around, there was still not a soul in sight. It wasn't until her little ball of light stopped in its hovering trajectory that Mimi's suspicions heightened again. She looked to her sides, checked for any one sign that something would jump her. But once again, it was only darkness around her, and nothing more. Thinking it was safe, she turned to face her light again, but was greeted instead with a wispy silhouette, shaped like a woman and oozing in darkness, spoke in an awfully familiar voice. "Miss me, light girl? Ophelia? Well, at least you remembered me, but know this. You and your friends are all misled into thinking that you could possibly save this land. And you yourself are definitely out of your mind if you could think you could possibly defeat me, let alone reach my little world. You better just give up while you have the chance, kid. There's nothing here but fallen hope now." Mimi would not be deterred, even if Ophelia's words hurt. "No! I will not give up! I won't let this land fall into the darkness!" She couldn't see any facial features on the silhouette, but she could feel it glaring at her. "Sooner or later, you're going to regret ever pursuing me. But we'll see, little Mimi. We'll see." And the shadow dissipated. An angry look appeared on Mimi's face, that of displeasure. She refused to let anything keep her spirit down. She knew she had to keep pressing forward. Or onward, sorry. But something was keeping her from moving from that spot. Rather, something she heard was worrying her. Somewhere in the trees, someone or something was groaning in pain. Her gaze immediately shot upwards, trying to locate the source of the noise, her head tilting left and right rapidly as she spun around, looking. After a minute of finding nothing once again, she heard the groaning sound again, this time sounding much louder and more pained in delivery. Again, she frantically searched the thick bush of the trees to find whatever was causing it. And this time it came to her. Out of blackness, a large body fell to the ground in front of me, causing her to shriek in shock. Mimi believed the body to be lifeless until she saw what she knew was its chest. Sorry, guess I'm afraid I forgot. Oh, okay. Sorry. Little problem. Misreading. Blech. Mimi believed the body to be lifeless until she saw what she knew was his chest, rising and falling, still breathing. She's understandably frightened that the thing was positively, gravely injured, but maintained a serene composure. The ball of light had now begun to float well above her, giving her a good aura of light to look over the body. But to her surprise, the thing began to groan again, managing to get up on its feet. All four of them, as it was soon revealed. As the light shone down upon it, Mimi was left to look at a small black pegasus pony, roughly about half her size, with red pointy mane and tail, with a white streak down the middle, and stinging red eyes. despite having great numerous cuts, scrapes, and bruises from being entangled in the prickly branches. The pony looked relatively unharmed. No broken bones, no fractured limbs anywhere. Deciding to be okay, Mimi began to speak calmly to it as if shook its frazzled mane straight. Are you okay, little guy? Let me just look at your wounds. I won't hurt you. Then, to her utter shock, she heard, I think I'll be okay, kiddo. I think I just missed something. This resulted in an immediate yelp and a jump back from Mimi, who was stuttering with her words, attempting to register what she just heard. Did you just talk? Of course I did. What's wrong with that? Nothing. It's just a surprise to me, that's all. Well, I guess it's okay now that somebody found me. Feels like I've been up there for God knows how long, and on top of that, I think I lost my hat! The pony stopped abruptly, his eyes shooting right to the hat Mimi's holding. Hey, that's my hat! How do you found it? Found it? You found me. Well, give it here then! The pony jolted forward, snatching the hat out of Mimi's hand in his mouth, and flicked it upwards, where it landed on top of his head on the left side of his mane. Now then, what's a little girl like you doing out in the big bad woods? Shouldn't you be at home? That comment jerked Mimi, and she was too happy with being... she wasn't too happy being called little, and she responded, Hey, I'm not a little girl. I'll have you know that I'm on a quest to rid this world of darkness. Hearing this, the pony tried as best as he could to stifle a laugh, but could not help but guffaw at such a statement. You? Save this world? Be more up front, why don't ya? Don't worry. Don't laugh. It's true. I was sent by him. Hearing the name caused the pony to immediately stop laughing and eye Mimi with an interesting look. Did you say him? Are you serious? He sent you on this quest? I'm dead serious, little pony. The pony said nothing for a while, just looked at Mimi with the most confounded look ever. After a while he said, Okay then, so you're greeted by him as the light of this darkness. I answered a guess. Alright. So you think you're actually one of his creations? Prove it. Pony shut his eyes, concentrated, and the hat began to glow with a red, hazing aura. Behind Mimi, a large growth of roots began to glow with the same aura. With this magic, the pony started to lift the roots out of their holding spot on the ground and levitated them towards Mimi. The roots were raised up above the target, poised to attack. As it shot forward at her like a whip, Mimi suddenly spun around, a flash of light from her hand forming, and a slicing sound following afterwards. The pony was now looking, mouth agape and eyes wide, at Mimi, life force sword in hand, gleaming in the moonlight, and tiny bits of root now falling to the ground. With the meager threat dealt with, Mimi found herself pointing the sword towards the pony now. He looked up at Mimi, then the sword. The pony could see the light energy reflecting on it, then he knew right away just who Mimi was. That sword! Oh my God, the weapon he made himself, and it's in your hands! So it is true. You do belong to him. Mimi's stance went from attack to usual calm self, smiling. When she called the sword, the pony suddenly flung himself in front of her feet, groveling. Please forgive me, girl. Surely you can understand that I give real hands whenever I lose my hat, and you can excuse my threatening you. I didn't know that you were the light that he sent. It's okay, little guy. I know it's a bit headstrong in saying who I am, but it's true. He created me as his light and gave me the light force sword. Oh my, well, in that case, it's my duty as his companion to help you get through this world. Wait, you know him? Yes, I'm always with him, or, well, was with him before he vanished. You always call me his little buddy. Hey, he's not dead, little guy. He spoke to me. He saved me from this really bad vision. He's the one who tasked me with saving this world. Hearing his own friend's existence was still evident. The pony gasped as deeply as his lung could allow. He's alive? In this world? Really? Well, you said he was in the weakened state ever since the force separated, but yes, he's still alive. But I gotta find the Four if I want any chance to purge the darkness from this land. The Four? Child! Do you even know what kind of power those swords of people hold? Even with that sword, you couldn't possibly face them alone. Even on their own. You'd be amazed at what I'm capable of, actually. Made me smile again. The pony cleared his throat. Well, that settles it. If he's still alive and he sent you as the savior of the world, then obviously he must know what he's doing. So in that case, I'm going to stick with you like I always did with him. Well, okay. Amy kneeled down to give the pony a hug, which he promptly returned. Alright, kid, let's go. The pony started to continue down a path with Mimi following right next to him. Well, you certainly prove that you're deserving of this sword. Do you have a name, girl? I'm Mimi, and you are? Shadow Rush. May seem like the name an enemy would have, but believe me, I'd fight for you alive right now if I know who you are. As they continued walking again, the brush above grew less dense, and the moon shone down to 2 once again. That's when Mimi noticed an odd symbol on each of Shadow Rush's flanks. It looks like a light blue. It looked to be a light blue curved in arc with 3 points on the outside of the arc. What's that symbol? I'm just going to go on a small little tangent and say that would be a cutie mark. But Mimi doesn't know My Little Pony, so... Shadow Rush looked at his flank. Oh, that's just the mark that he gave me. It represents one having a insignia that in itself represents he himself. An insignia. Oh yes, Mimi. The day that Mark makes his resurge in this world is the day that he'll make his return. I just don't know how it could possibly be brought on again. So, do you know anything about the Four? All former yet still colleagues to him. When he vanished, they separated due to strains between their friendships. If he deemed it right upon you, then reuniting them is your one shot at purifying this world. Well, do you remember where any of them could be? My brain's still hazy after being left in that tree for so long, and... well, I'd rather not go into it. I'm afraid my memory's a little hazy, but we should be safe. Just need to watch for the... They stopped. Right in front of the two, there stood a tree, covered in what looked to be large, deep cuts in the wood. Maybe didn't know what to make of it, but Shadow Rush looked like he knew exactly what created it. Yeah, scratch marks. Someone most definitely been here. We're going in the right direction, just down this path. How do you know this won't be a trap, Rush? Like never leaving to trap me, we should be on our best guard, so be ready if we see anyone. And if they see us first? Shadow Rush didn't answer that for a second. Trying to find an answer to that in Mimi's case wouldn't be too much to be scared for. They won't. Let's take a quick little break and bite into some food. Sorry. Okay. Give me about 2-3 minutes. There we go. Excuse me. Some pizza I happened to warm up. That's probably going to have to help me. Let's continue on. They started down the path, where the dirt under them was starting to show signs of bloodstains. Fluids from a fresh kill, it looked. But maybe wasn't certain it could be the blood of an animal. Still, she wouldn't be frightened so easily. After watching their steps down the path for a good time, Rush and Mimi found what they believed to be the end of the path. Before them, there was a sort of gate made from black brambles and roses. On each side of the gate were burning torches, crafted from lush growth plants. Beyond it was hard dirt with more torches. The two didn't hear him before, but they certainly did now. Beyond the gate, there was but a faint sound of somebody playing some sort of stringed instrument. A grungy sort of tone echoed through the trees, a tone that would unnerve even the bravest of souls, a tone that might serve as a warning to what was to come. Mimi looked at Shadowrush, and he looked to her as well, both with uneasy eyes. Well, there's something there, all right. There's no honor in turning back now if you aren't up to challenge me. No, Rush, I was sent here to find a fort, and that's what I'm going to do. Going back down from a fight if I have to. You got courage, Mimi. Normally anyone would just back away from this kind of situation, but maybe you really have got his brand of bravery. I wasn't meant for him for nothing, she said playfully. And with that, the two entered the gate, continuing down the beaten path. As they trudged further in, the sound of the music being played came closer and closer, as if drawing them in. Many of the trees they passed along the way were covered in the same deep scratch marks the two had seen earlier. They appeared to be increasing in volume and depth, becoming deeper engraved into the bark. We're close now. Showman's been sharpening their weapons on these trees. After continuing the following path, the sound of music grew further in. After continuing to follow the sound of music further in, they found the source at last. Where the path ended, there was a large grove in the center of a dense clearing of trees. An outcrop of rocks stood near the far end of a grove with a spring of water splashing down on a waterfall, sparkling in the hazed moonlight above. A large wooden shrine stood in front of the pond that the waterfall had created. Mimi stood by the entrance, unmoved physically, but mentally entranced by the sights and sounds before her. It wasn't until Shadowrush prodded her knee that her gaze was directed to a wooden platform a short distance from the shrine. Surrounded by more of the homemade torches, it wasn't a symbol identical to the one on Rush's flank that grabbed Mimi's attention. It was whom was on the platform that got her focused. There sat the music maker, a girl strumming and calmly on her instrument. She was all but obvious to her surroundings, choosing instead to focus on the music she was creating. The hood from her jet black sleeveless hoodie shrouded the top half of her head and face in the shadows, while the rest of her was clad in dark blue jeans and sneakers. If anybody knows the character I'm talking about, please feel free to say it. Well, at least we know she's home, Rush said with a tinge of fear in his tone. Now, we don't want to alert her of our presence, so we should find a way to sneak around her, or... Hey, where did you go? When he turned around, Mimi wasn't next to him anymore. When he looked back, he was horrified to see her advancing towards the playing girl. Shadowrush began to whisper as loud as he could to Mimi, staying right by the entrance, out of sight. Mimi, get back here now! She's not what she seems! But she continued onwards, either because she did not hear Russ, or she was focused on finding out who this girl was. Whatever the case was, Russ was scared for what could happen to Mimi. He continued to call out her from beyond cover. You come back here right now, young lady! You could get hurt if you don't know what you're doing! He doubled back on it last sentence. Oh dear God, I'm sounding like a father to her. Mimi, no! His train of thought was caught up by the sight of Mimi kneeling before the instrument player, looking more closely at her instrument. Upon closer inspection, Mimi saw that it was a guitar, a black fine V, with ebony strings and a neck. Etched on the body was a frightening but entrancing symbol, a bleeding heart surrounded by two grinning skulls, and the girl playing the guitar was completely obvious to her surroundings. Anybody got a good idea who that is? Please mention. Mimi's... Ooh, hold on. Mimi sat there for a second more, observing the girls playing. Fingers slid up and down the frets slowly, played more grungy notes and chords. The song she was creating would make even the heaviest of starters feel completely gone from themselves. Mimi looked in for a closer look at the instrument. Too close. The girl snapped her head up, revealing two bright, stingy red eyes under the darkness of her hood that cast a disturbing glare in Mimi's direction, causing Mimi to jolt back aghast. The girl growled at her, vanishing under a black veil of shadows, her guitar following suit. Mimi! Shadowrush's abrupt call brought Mimi back to earth with the situation. Rush galloped to her side as fast as his little legs could take him. He looked nearly horrified with what had just transpired. He spoke to her in a flustered tone. How do you quite grasp who you're dealing with right now? I'm sorry, I was just trying to be gentle. Gentle? There's almost no being gentle with someone like that. A chilling wind blew through. Light emanating from the fire around Rush and Mimi blew out the candles. When the breeze subsided, there stood only torches around the wooden platform. Only that circle of light stood out in the near pitch black darkness. You shouldn't have come here, little girl. A cold voice spoke to the two from the darkness. It was the girl, but where she was speaking from, neither of them knew. But Mimi did know one thing. If the girl was coming, she'd be ready. Calling the life force sword to her, Mimi slowly did an about-face around the platform, looking for any signs of motion through the curtain of blackness surrounding herself. Shadow Rush scanned the surroundings as well, only a little more warily, as if he knew exactly where the enemy was, but couldn't tell Mimi exactly. They both stood in the back to back, strafing in a small circle with their backs to each other. But nothing emerged from the dark, not a soul. Deeming it safe, Mimi and Rush faced each other again. Somehow it just doesn't feel right, Mimi. At least we had lost her for... Oh my god. Mimi raised an eyebrow to Rush's sudden freezing up. He was tense, knees knocking against each other. He backed a step away from Mimi, and it wasn't long until the reason why presented itself. I'm right here. Mimi heard it, a dark voice from right behind her. The air around her seemed to turn to ice, and when she turned around to face the speaker, she jumped back in fright. It was the girl, standing with her back to Mimi, arms crossed. As she unfolded her arms to face Mimi and Rush, that's when Mimi saw it. On the girl's right hand was a glove-like apparatus, constructed of black plate metal. She clenched her glove fist tight, and when it unfurled, 5 cold steel knives shot from each finger of the glove, each gleaming in the moonlight. Just like the glove that the man from Mimi's vision had on. A most unnerving smile formed on the girl's half-shrouded face. However, Mimi was not as sturdy as Rush was, who was currently cowering behind Mimi. You don't stand me. The Shadow said I won't back down from a fight. The girl scoffed. So you're brave. How riveting. You already found my grove, so what do you want from me? A hug? Mimi, I think we really should... You're saying something, horse? Rush's whispering was cut off by the girl. I would have you know I'm a pony. There's a big difference, he retorted, but shrunk back behind Mimi after she threw a skirting look at him. Mimi continued. Now then, I don't want to fight you, but I'll have you know that I was sent to find you by... Wait, you were sent to find me? That's right. It's been said that I'm the one who will save this world as the light. For that moment, only a small breeze blew through the trees could be heard. Nobody said anything. Then the girl before them started laughing, starting as a barely audible giggle before progressing into a loud laughing fit. The girl had to clutch her chest to keep herself steady, but when she was done, she snorted and looked back at Mimi. You actually serious? The light that will save us all is a little girl like you? I've already gone through this with Shadowside here. Yes, I'm the light. I was sent here to film my listening by another eruption of laughter. Cut made me off once again. Do you really expect me to take you seriously? No, really. Where's the real light? Frustrated yet determined, Mimi whipped out her sword, which too gleamed in the showering moonlight. The sword's energy shimmered all about its presence, giving its target a wake-up call. Okay, so you are the light. You've got to be shooting me. Cautiously lowering her weapon, Mimi stood her ground. I don't want any more problems, so reveal yourself to me. Like you've already had, like you haven't already got a problem yourself, light girl. Complying, the girl pulled her hood off, revealing herself to Mimi and Shadowside. What they saw was definitely a shock. Whereas they were expecting some form of horrible demon to be under the veil, there was instead the face of a pale, light gray-skinned girl with placid blue eyes. Then another feature of the girl presented itself. 2 big red Japanese characters on the front of her hoodie, glowing vibrant red. Together they spell out Onryo, spirit. What character is this from? I wonder. If anybody's got any ideas, shoot. Hell, if Shadow's in here, shoot. As the girl unfurled her long, flowing black hair, Mimi asked one thing that was on the tip of her tongue. You're a ghost? Technically, I'm a girl that's been brought back from the spill realm to continue my life due to a curse or whatever, but yeah, you could say I'm a ghost. This may be. I'm gonna continue on. Mimi and Shadowrush said nothing. They were trying to fathom what they were up against. The girl then said to them, rather indignantly, "Well, what, you're expecting some kind of monster?" "Oh, wait, that's exactly what I am." Mimi was certain she heard the girl's voice tremble in that last sentence, as if she were not happy with what she was. "Hey, you're no monster," she let her sword arm fall limp, approaching the girl with a comforting hand. "Let's just sit and talk about this. I can help you." "No!" The girl suddenly exploded. Her blue eyes reverted back to the angry red with black pupils. "Nobody can understand what I've been through, not even a clueless little girl like you." Without so much of a hint, she was gone in a flash of black, literally in the blink of an eye. "So now, let me show you what it's like to face the darkness." I had an idea about who this girl might be. Playing a flying V, pale with long black hair. Might be Marceline from fucking Venture Time. Mimi was forced to get back on guard once again. She held her sword close, keeping it pointed out in front of her. That way she would be ready if the girl jumped her. Turning around in a small circle, she scanned every inch of the trees looking for her opponent. She didn't have to wait long. From out of the brush above, Mimi heard a horrid, croaking, gurgling noise. Her head snapped towards the canopy of the woods, and there, crawling on the underside of a thick overhanging branch, was her opponent. Shadowrush prodded her knee again to gain her attention at the moment of observation. "Trust me, Mimi, you're going to want to move." But she couldn't. The shock of seeing her aggressor snap her head around like an 80-degree angle so that it faced backwards from the front of her body had her frozen in place. Then from the girl's throat, there came that same horrid croaking noise, a death rattle. The spirit girl's eyes grew wide as her rattle grew more intense, her gaping maw almost as black as the night itself. Okay, maybe not Marceline, but who knows? Because Mimi was unable to retract at the moment, she was helpless as the girl suddenly releases her hold of the branch and plummeted towards her like a cannonball. It was only due to Shadowrush's sudden pulling her away that kept her from being flattened. The girl crashed hard into the hard dirt. The impact was such that it cracked and snapped every limb in her body, all of it audible to both Rush and Mimi. It froze in place, unsure if the body would jump back and surprise them. Oh. Hold on. Some sneeze is trying to get up to me. Okay, we're good. When no movement from the body occurred for a few more seconds, the two thought they might be in the clear, that is, until the body made a sudden croak. Immediately their eyes were on it again. Just like that, the girl's bones started to graphically snap back into her respective sockets, starting from the feet up. Gradually the girl began to stand up, starting from a slouched position, her upper body on the ground, to her normal bent-over stance. Her limbs were forming and rebuilding. When at last she was back to an upright standing pose, she grabbed her head with both hands and snapped it back to its proper orientation with a loud, wet crack. The girl chuckled at Mimi. Just try to hurt me, light girl. I'm nearly indestructible. The girl jumped high into the clearing, her hair breezing behind her in the evening gust. She seemed hung there for a second as the time slowed down before falling back down to earth, weapon in hand posed to strike. Shadowrush immediately dove out of the way, but Mimi stood there as if asking to be struck down. What were you thinking, Mimi? Move! But she didn't. She stood as still as a statue, looking up. Rush was about to protest again, but until he noticed she was holding the life force sword behind her. She was looking for a precise moment to counterattack. The girl rocketed out of the sky, giving a battle shout as he zeroed in on little Mimi. That was just what Mimi was waiting for. Mere milliseconds before she was struck, Mimi swung her sword out, deflecting the girl's own swing from her blade glove. Sparks flew from their weapons in a stunning display, bringing the two girls back to their feet, staring each other down. You wouldn't think of trying it again, would you, Spirit? Oh, don't even try me, like girl. You're crazy if you think you can beat me. Mimi gasped. She heard those same words come out of Aphelia's mouth. She almost was caught in reminiscing when the girl took another swing at her, when she just barely managed to dodge. The two properly squared off, swinging their respective blades toward each other, each side parrying the other with the greatest of ease. Sparks continued to fly everywhere, grunts of exertion sounded off, and metal met metal with clanging force. Mimi was putting up a good fight as she could, but her spiritual aggressor certainly wasn't letting up. She was swung even harder at Mimi, her red eyes glowing like the sharpest daggers. She was pushing Mimi back with her attacks, which were becoming more aggressive by the second. Eventually, Mimi was brought down to her knees, forced to clench her sword with both hands, and held it up as the girl continued to lay into her. Mimi was trapped now and unable to move, unable to do anything other than believably hold her sword up to keep the girl at bay. Just give up. You can't outlast me forever. The girl seemed to be succeeding over Mimi. The poor girl was now strained heavily, sweat beads rolling down her head. Even with the odds against her, though, Mimi would not concede. As the girl raised her weapon up for one last swing, Mimi decided to counterattack. But as she hoisted herself back up to her feet, she was forced to dodge yet again. As the girl seemed to strike with unbelievable speed, as if she moved in and out of the darkness with another blink of an eye. The girl smiled, knowing she would win. But before she could finish her prey off, she stopped, dead in place. Mimi stopped shielding herself to see what just happened, and was equally surprised. The girl's bright glove had been frozen just as the girl had started swinging. It was being encased in a dark red orb that was crackling under their dark energy. Hey, what gives? The girl naturally began to struggle against her magical restraint, thrashing all about to try to break free. Mimi turned around and she saw Shadowrush, his hat aglow and vibrant in red light. Rush! Kid, I don't know how much longer I can hold this spell! Do something! Mimi had to act. Shadowrush was right. In time the girl would break through her restraint and come after her again. Thinking fast, she held her hands up in front of her, light energy shining off of them now. Focusing hard, Mimi channeled that energy towards the girl, her body being covered in a bright white outline. Before the girl knew it, she felt her feet leaving the ground. Shadowrush let his hold go, watching as the former attacker was now being lifted higher and higher into the air. Her former confident attitude was now being replaced by fear. She started yelping as she was hoisted up. Wait! I can't analyze one like this! Put me down! But Mimi had a different motive in mind. Moving her hands all about, she levitated the girl's body all around like a stringless marionette, and with a flick of her wrist, the girl was sent flying into a tree. Then another tree. And another. And yet another. Wood cracked, branches broke as the girl continuously thrown into the tree after countless trees by Mimi's light magic. Shadowrush just stood there in amazement, and at Mimi's display of concentration and exertion of her power. How he thought could someone like her have such amount of power within herself? By this point, the girl's entire body was being pushed to the limits, bones and limbs being subject to extreme force. So Mimi decided to bring the fight to an end, throwing her hands down, slamming her entire face first into hard dirt, her bones snapping all over again. The girl was panting heavily. She could barely move now, and she was still wishing great harm upon Mimi. Managing to lift her head up, she shot a red-eye glare at Mimi, and growled under her breath. I hate you. You started it, and now I'll end it. Using her telekinesis again, Mimi lifted the broken girl up into the air again, and began walking her towards the bonfire in the center of the grove. Shadowrush followed closely behind. When the girl saw this, she started to regenerate her broken limbs, moving her head back and forth between Mimi and the fire close to the distance. Unfortunately, by the time the girl's last arm bone had snapped to its proper socket, she was now hovering directly over her bonfire. Mimi had a fire of her own within her eyes, and a look on her face that showed she was dead set on winning. The girl finally broke down and began pleading with her. No, wait, please don't do this, girl. If you let me go, I promise I won't hurt you again. I'll find another forest to hunt. I'm far away from here. Just please, don't kill me. The tears slipped out of her eye, a sign of surrender. Mimi, however, would not fall for the girl's trickery, be it feigning innocence or not. With a free hand, she raised her focus onto the blaze in front of her. Light, burn my enemy, and righteous fire! The fire rose higher and higher, quickly skyrocketing upwards, catching the girl in its combustible wake. A blood-curdling scream pierced the night as she was burnt alive in Mimi's telekinetic grasp. Shadowrush had to cover his eyes with one hoof to shield his view from the display. The fire crackled and roared, soon drowning out the girl. Mimi held it up for a few moments longer before she dropped to the ground, spent. Rush trotted towards her. He put a hoof on her back to help her breathe. Are you okay, Mimi? Sure zapped up a lot of your energy there. I'm fine, Rush. Need just a second to catch my breath. I imagine so. That was quite a display of power you showed there. Mimi didn't say anything. She was smiling simply at his words, her strength returning. Taking hold of her sword again, she managed to get herself up on one knee to finish taking deep breaths. Just take it easy now. You overcome quite the obstacle there. The fog continued to crackle, its flames still rising high in the air. Embers scattered around the base, reminiscing of its past rage. Mimi cautiously prodded at the fire with a stick, trying to keep it going to further bask in its warmth. But as she drew the stick away from out of the fire, a foot stomped out near her hand. Give me a minute. Mimi jumped back and fell into her behind, fear reinstated. From out of the blaze, a body stepped out. Skin charred and blackened, clothes reformed, and hair aflame, but not burning. 5 glinting knives shot out from the glove of the apparatus, flames running down the blaze without tarnishing them. Most terrifyingly, its eyes were now pupilless and glassy, tinted blood red, the color of rage. The girl was very much alive after all. Looking down upon Mimi, a very angrily snarl on her face, she began to advance towards the poor, light-imbued girl. Shadowrush attempted to charge at her foe, but the girl simply threw him aside with one hand, as if flicking away an annoying little moth. As she stood up over Mimi, her chest rising and falling in tune with her heavy breath, she breathed out her words. Now you made me angry, kid. I'm gonna take this quick little break. I think I'll just do some breaks like every half hour, just so I can keep pace. I'll say we resume in about 5 minutes. Stick around. Any thoughts so far? Anybody? Excuse me. Anybody's thoughts so far on this story or whatever? Even I wouldn't stoop that low. Wonder what he means. What does he mean by he's not going to stoop that low anyways? Let's type that. She's not based off of Marceline. Didn't really like Adventure Time. Huh. Someone else then, huh? Who else plays a guitar, has black hair, and is now fucking raging mad with red eyes? A little too violent to be Marceline. Wonder what Shadow has in mind. And also Marceline would not be a spirit because she's technically a vampire. It's a Gibson Fine B. A black hoodie with letters that mean spirit. Huh. Maybe more reading into this might get us some clues. Why don't we continue? Without warning, she'd vanished, taking all the lights with her. The torches around the grove, including the bonfire, were extinguished. Mimi was now in the dark, the moon shining above the clearing, sparing her from being in total blackness. Oh. And you wouldn't like me when I'm angry. Oh my god, we pulled this straight out of the classic Incredible Hulk series. Oh well. The girl's words pierced the dark veil that surrounded them both. Shadow Rush managed to clumsily get to his feet, shaking his head to clear the rest of his dizziness. Ugh, why do I get the feeling that I heard those words from somewhere else? Let's go, light girl! Shadow step! Rush was interrupted as Mimi got back to her feet. Before she could react in time, a small black cloud appeared in front of her. From out of it, the girl lunged out, weapon extended. She blew past Mimi, slicing her clean across. With a sharp cry, Mimi fell back to her knee, clutching the gashes across her side. The girl whipped back around, smiling down on her victim. Looks like you're not so confident now, are you, huh? Mimi could only whimper in pain, trying to stop her bleeding. Oh. Okay. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Damn. She looked at the girl, who was preparing for another strike. But as she wound up, Mimi's vision seemed to get brighter. She thought the darkness was beginning to affect her at last, but when she heard a heavenly voice, she quickly entered a calm state of mind. Don't let your window of opportunity slip away, little Mimi. Strike her now. He was right. The girl had appeared to have left herself open for return fire as she continued gloating. She had to act fast before her one last chance, before her one chance to rise up again left her. Sorry, I'm looking at the chat right now. Google Foo, go! Remember what we're dealing with. She's pale blue, dark hair. Her eyes can turn to red. She has a sleeveless hoodie on with symbols meaning spirit, and she has a Gibson Flying V and a metal fist with blades. Recalling the life force sword to her, Mimi took the chance, sprang up, and swung at the girl. It was a clean cut, slashing her straight across the chest. She yelped and doubled back. Eyes wide in shock, she clutched the spot where she had been hit. Bringing her hand up to see it was coated in blood. Her blood. She vanished again in another black cloud. Her voice rang in her head again. You too can perform a technique similar to her shadow step, Mimi. You must focus your light senses, then project it to where you desire. The range of this technique obviously has its limits, of course. Mimi nodded. She pressed her fists together, extended her pointer fingers, and touching the tips to each other. She shut her eyes, thinking only moving her being to another location. She strained, trying her best to project forward. Come on, come on. Mimi was forced to act quickly. From behind her, Peekaboo, here I come again! The girl swung hard, a wild look in her eyes. There was a flash of brightness, and she found herself swinging at nothing. The intensity of her attack sent her off balance, nearly toppling over the ground. Hey, no fair! You're stealing my technique! Not a flash, this time behind her. You're not the only one who can play dirty. Oh god, not again. Kill! And Mimi swung back. It was a clean cut right down the girl's back, where she clutched it in pain. Ah, damn it! I'll make you pay for that! And thus began a barrage of teleportation techniques, both Mimi and the girl bopping in and out of the mortal plane in a fury of respective black and white bursts. Fresh found himself desperately trying to keep up with the white flashes to keep track of Mimi, as he only catch very brief glimpses of both fighters as they swung each other, and then disappear out of sight. Oh, keep it up, Mimi. Now you're over there. Oh, wait, no. Oh, forget it. You're doing good, kid. Oh, excuse me. As the fight continued on, Mimi seemed to be regaining the upper hand. Her attacks became faster, and with one good swing of her sword, she struck the girl in just the right spot, dazing her. She spun out, unable to teleport anymore. But Mimi kept up the pressure, teleporting in and out of the plane, striking the girl multiple times. Rush could hear Mimi's cheerful laugh as she continued slicing and dicing, and knew she was certainly winning. But after several more strikes, the girl was getting progressively angrier. She was growling rather audibly now, and just as another perfect sword strike found its mark on her, enough! The girl wound up, and as Mimi teleported back in front of her for one last swing, the girl viciously backhanded her weapon hand, sending the sword flying through the air and embedded it in a tree. Mimi was too startled by the sudden retort to react, which gave ample time for the girl to grab Mimi by the throat, clenching it in a vice-like grip. Mimi desperately kicked at the foe, grasping for any breath she can get as the girl slammed her against a tree, not letting go of her throat for 1 second. She breathed her words in the harshest tone she could manage. And now you feel the full measure of my wrath! She raised her knives up, poised to stab her victim. Shadow Rush then made one last attempt to save Mimi. He ran to where her sword had been struck into the tree, trying to pull it out from whatever strength he had with him. However hard the girl had knocked it through, though, had left it very deeply wedged into the bark. Rush only managed to pry out a good halfway before he was forced to look back at Mimi, who was now struggling to keep the girl's knives from piercing her midsection. But try as the girl might, Mimi held onto her weapon hand tight, keeping it from moving any further. The two of them strained, both of them trying to gain respective control of the weapon. Mimi refused to be outdone. She wouldn't ever give up, even with the odds stacked against her. Let it go already. I already said you couldn't outlast me forever. Mimi barely managed to spurt her words out from her chokehold. Because I wouldn't give up even if it kills me. I have a destiny to fulfill. What are you talking about with stupid destiny of yours? I don't know anyone who could have possibly deemed you to life that could save the entire world. Because I was sent by him. He created me as his light, and now I've got to lift the darkness from this world to make him proud. Hearing this immediately, made the girl stop where she was, pupils returning to her placid eyes. Did you say him? He sent you on this quest of yours? She turned away from Mimi, maintaining her hold over her throat, but losing it ever so. She reveled in this realization. He's still alive. So that must mean Sora and the others are safe too. Mimi knew her moment was now. Summoning the last of her strength, she aimed her telekinetic grasp towards her sword. Putting her full focus on the weapon's hilt, she pulled with what her dwindling power could manage, and by some miracle her sword returned to her. But her adversary, still reveling at the fact that he was still living, she took the opportunity and attacked. Her blade found its mark, piercing the girl through the chest, causing her to let out a prolonged scream of agony. Blood spurted from the wound, splattering onto Mimi's clothing. She felt a sudden jolt in her power, and her vision went completely white. Her body felt as if it was floating, and she drifted into the grasp of unconsciousness. As Mimi awoke, she found herself in a very different place than before. She was in a bare, grassy plain. Everything she saw, it appeared to be in a much dull shaded color. She wouldn't have wondered why she was here until she looked ahead of her. Standing in the middle of the circle of dying purple flames stood him. In his arms he was carrying the body of what looked like a woman. Standing before him were three others, one of which was the girl, now a white dress, as opposed to previous attire. The two were hard for me to pinpoint. One looked very much like the figure from her vision, while the other was shrouded in darkness, unable to be recognized. The girl was talking to him. That was some race. Never thought she could make it through. It was grueling, but even the possibility of death couldn't have stopped me. She giggled, the two others conversing with each other. Will she be alright? The girl asked. Well, she'll be fine when she wakes up. I'll just stay with her for now. If you say so. Oh, and you'll see me again soon, so don't worry. Before Mimi could wonder what any of this is, another flash brought her back from her bliss. Mimi, come on, Mimi, stay with me. Oh, there you go. Oh boy, you were out for a good while there. Rush's voice was the first thing Mimi heard upon reawakening. She slowly sat up, rubbing her head. What happened? What happened? You need a real number on that spirit. What you did. Mimi shook her head, her battle-ready attitude shaking off from her as well. When she noticed her sword and clothes were still covered in blood, she looked over at the girl. Her stab wound now fully bled out. Mimi scrambled over to the girl's side, now scared that she might have unintentionally killed the soul. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you that bad. Please wake up. She would have become more guilt-ridden had she not seen the girl's chest weakly rising and falling. Her wheezy breath a sign that she was barely clinging to life. What do I do? What do I do? I don't know what I can do. Stay calm, Mimi. She's still breathing, but just barely. Mimi ran her hand across the girl's stabbed wound, trying to stop the flow of blood that was still spurting out. It was then that her light began to kick up again. As she held her hand over the girl's chest, it began to emit a warming aura. At first she was not sure how to proceed, but with gentle encouragement,
She figured it out. Humming gently, she slowly waved her hand in small circles around the ground, emptying her mind of the past battle. The aura became greater in intensity until it completely bathed the area in light. As quickly as it started, it was over. And Mimi opened her eyes. Blood that had previously coated herself and her sword was vanished. And upon looking down, any signs of the girl's impalement was now gone, as well as the wound she herself had suffered. Mimi's eyes twinkled in amazement. She had performed her first healing spell. The girl's breathing had now eased up a little, her mind now in the drool of unconsciousness. Mimi looked over the girl, running a hand down her arm. Her skin was smooth and clammy. Since she didn't think put 50 in the spirit. When she went to examine the strange glove apparatus, the girl suddenly took a deep breath of air, springing up in a sitting position, and shocking both her resuscitator and companion. She turned to them both, bewildered but thankful. You saved me? Even after I tried to kill you? Even with blindness in your heart, there's still good in you. I couldn't just leave you here to die. The girl was surprised. She didn't know how to respond to little Mimi. Her mind searched for a possible answer, but finally sounded on, "Thanks, like girl." They both shared a smile, as did Rush. Minutes later, both girls and Rush were sitting in the girl's shrine, basking in the renewed warmth of light around them. They sat cross-legged in front of each other. Rush at Mimi's side as the girl initiated a conversation. So let me get this straight. You were created by him as his light, and he sent you on this quest to lift the darkness of this world. That's it in a nutshell. Well, I can say by saying I'm sorry for thinking otherwise of you and attacking you, of course. I've already accepted whoever you are. Sorry, I never got your name. I'm Kai. Just Kai. Somebody look up Kai. And what's your name other than Light Girl? I mean... Kai giggled at her own joke, as did Mimi. Before she answered, I'm Mimi. Just Mimi. Quick break. Let's see what this pulls up in Google. Google Foo! Go! Let's see what this pulls up. Okay, a lot of images. Now Shadow has to come at my rescue. One of his own characters. Great. Partially based off of Kayako from The Grudge. Hence the word Onryo. So, we're dealing with an OC. Slightly. We're dealing with one based on The Grudge. Damn. Kai didn't look at the little black pony next to Mimi. You? Shadow Rush. I'm sticking with Mimi as her companion for this journey. Shadow Rush. Hang on. Aren't you the same pony that used to hang out with him before he vanished? The very same, Rush said proudly. And now you're helping his own light on a dangerous quest like this. You, Mimi, are quite a lucky girl. Well, I know Grush regarding his life, but I don't see how having him with me makes his destiny of mine any easier. What is this destiny anyway? I thought it would be just for you to be a heroine who will save us all. More specifically, Kai, he himself spoke to me, and he said something about finding the four, that I had to reunite them in order to save this world. Hearing this caused Kai to do an immediate double take, gobstruck at what she just heard. The four? He really told you to find the four? Why, yes. Why? Do you know any of them? Know them? Sweetie, I'm one of them! Mimi's eyes widened at this revelation. She was both awestruck. She had unwittingly discovered one of the four, and at the same time honored to be in Kai's presence now. Rush was equally surprised. Hang on, it's coming back to me now. Oh yeah, I remember. Kai is the youngest of the four. If I recall, maybe slightly older than you, Mimi. Mimi then remembered something about the earlier battle. You said something about Sora and the others. Or at least is what I heard from me having in show code. Ugh. She rubbed her throat, a little sore from being held. I still remember that little group. I used to be real close to them, but when he vanished, I kind of lost touch with them. I wonder if they still remember me. And just quickly, your moonlight now again. So, you actually seen him? When I was first created, yes. You're obviously been close to him. If you're one of his guardians, so what was he like? Kai sighed dreamily, and he spoke as if she had been in the presence of a secret lover. Oh, Mimi, he was wonderful. Intelligent, insightful beyond his age. He takes such great care of his creations. Did you know it was his imagination that created this world? I don't think so. I remember Chia saying something about that. What else? You want to know the truth? He's actually a little shy at heart. Both girls shared the same dreamy sigh. Kai continuing her story. I'm sure you're probably wondering why I'm out here in this dark forest, are you? I could be mean. I could be, yeah. I mean, I was driven further in after finding Dash and encountering this girl named Ophelia who I previously... Wait, hold up there. Did you say Ophelia? Mimi nodded as her answer. Both Kai and Shadow as the solemn looks. Sweet Lord, if she's following Mimi, she could be in big trouble. Why? Who is Ophelia? I even questioned, more concerned and scared. Kai looked at Mimi, then at Rush, who gave a gesture as if she should tell Mimi the full details. So Kai sighed and began. It's a long story, but I'll try to make it easy to understand. Mimi nodded as she listened closely. Ophelia, if you can believe it, is a member of the four. As if on cue, Mimi gasped in surprise. I know, hard to believe since you've heard of it now, but it's true. In fact, she and I used to be best friends, but of course, that all changed once he disappeared. What exactly drove her to this point? The first time I faced her, she had possessed my love, a friend. Yeah, my friend Sora, since he was seemingly too weak to appear in true form. She almost said lover.
almost said the lover. She almost said the lover. I need to take a quick break. Since this is another half hour, I also use this to use the bathroom. Anybody else? We'll just start probably 5 minutes. Let me use the bathroom. There we go. Ah, yeah. Oh, cool.
I should find a way to cool my laptop down for when it eats. Anyways, we're at page 22 now, of 32 pages that he written. 10 more pages, guys! Not finished, Vic. I'm not sure. I think it's still ongoing. But at least with this chapter, it has 32. It's got 32 pages, and we just went through. We're on page 22. And now, with a little drink, we begin. Ah, yes. Therein lies the rest of her history, little Mimi. You see, Ailia was incredibly close to him when he was still around. In fact, she wanted him all for herself. Where when the others and I were around, she always hogged his attention, never letting us near him. You can pretty much say she was jealous of anybody who tried to spend time with him. Which in her case was everybody he tried to spend time with. That wasn't her. Now here's where it gets really bad. When he vanished, Ailia went absolutely nuts. She blamed said disappearance on all of us, saying we had convinced him to leave in order to get away from her. Naturally, as her best friend, I tried to calm her down, but she lashed out at me. Our little argument flared up into something much bigger, and eventually she cut me off, traveling out far off into the reach and creating her own little world to simmer in her anger. But then where does the part about her possessing Sora came in? I was about to say, basically because Ailia was now alone, she gradually lost her strength and power, since the one person she depended on was gone. In her weakened state, she needed somebody to feed off of, or else she would be gone too. And naturally, seeing Sora and a group falling over you, she saw her moment to strike. Rush remarked, "Wow. Even I'm amazed at that. Think, I was stuck up in the trees when all this happened." Well, even so, I exercised her right out of Sora and drove her off. For now, at least. It's all thanks to the gift that you bestowed upon me. Saying this, he summoned the Light Force sword to display it. Now witnessing it up close, Kai was stunned at the weapon's beauty. That's a genuine work of art. I ought to know. I used to watch him working on it on his little highway. Would you mind if I take a closer look at it? Mimi shirked away. Nervous to let her weapon go in unfamiliar hands. Okay, but be careful with it. She carefully handed Kai her sword, to which Kai just as carefully took it from her. She nearly caressed it in her hands, turning it over to better examine the jewels of the hilt, and the detail and shine of the blade. As she did this, Mimi got her own look at Kai's strange apparatus. What is that? Oh, this thing? This beauty is called a glaive. In essence, A fitted metal glove with blades on the inside that I can easily sheathe and unsheathe when need to. One for each finger. See? She unsheathed each blade one by one to demonstrate this capability. After handing the sword back to her, Mimi asked, "Can I see?" "Well, of course." She handed it to her, to whom he held in her own hands. In the sharpness of the blades, as when she recalled something. "This looks familiar to me, too."
It does?
"Where have you seen it before?" "Well, I had this vision. His big figure was all draped in shadows and big red eyes. He was standing over me, taunting me with this same weapon." When the fact of the matter struck her, Kai's eyes grew wide and she jumped up, pacing around her shrine, unable to comprehend any of it. No, he couldn't be. He couldn't be watching over her too, could he? She was in over her head more than I thought. Well, what is it? Kai took a deep, cleansing breath, trying to calm about it. She started explaining, nice and easy.
Sadly, I need to sneeze again. Okay, I'm good.
The man you speak of, I know him too. The oldest living member of the Four. He had an inseparable bond with him. Of all the people who could have gone the most insanely left us, he was this man. You pretty much say he's one of the leading causes of the misery and plague that's taken us all. His anger had affected the farthest reaches of the world, and I'm only lucky that I managed to escape the wake of his wrath. What are you talking about? You look fine to me, Rush wondered. Kai gave a disapproving smirk, and with not a speck of decency, lifted up the front of her hoodie for her company to see, both of which reacted bewilderedly. Kai responded with her own sneakiness. "Oh, calm down, I got a bra, yikes. Just look." Well, we're about to get a peep show? Regaining their senses, Mimi and Rush looked at the actual point of interest. It's a long, deep red and hemorrhaging scar that ran from Kai's midsection up to her chest. Oh, good lord. Rush explained, choking back on some vomit. How on earth did this happen? I made the foolish decision to confront him. And his anger, and I ended up paying for it with this mark. I'm not reading arms about it since he's much more powerful than I'll ever be, but that's besides the point. He said he came to you in a vision? Mm-hmm. Damn. You still got it. Not only that, he and Ailia are very close to each other. In a loving way. She wouldn't let up on her mind games with you until you either give up or reach her world. He won't quit until you're gone. But knowing you, Mimi, he won't quit on us now. I was trying to rush by my side in my own confidence. I know I'll be okay. That's the spirit there, Mimi, Rush said joyfully. I have to say, Mimi, you really opened my eyes. And again, I'm sorry to try and kill you. Mimi got up and gave Kai a reassuring hug. All's forgiven. It's in the past. I gotta say, though, you have my word that I'll help you with whatever you need now. Just say the word and I'll point you in the right direction. Mimi pondered on that for a moment, wondering how she could ask for her assistance. She couldn't bear asking Kai to accompany her and Rush on her journey since she was only recovering from a battle that literally took place minutes ago. Deep thought she came to a head. Any chance you know where the rest are? Well, I don't know where Aphelia's little hideaway is, so I can't help you there. I do know the remaining member. She's a good friend of mine. Name is Song Li. She resides far off in the cliffs. Song Li. Something tells me we're gonna be referring to a gang. Well then, what are we waiting for, Rush? Let's go! As she sprung to her feet and ran to the shrine, Rush ran right back behind her. But Kai called him back. Wait! I have something to show you. Mimi skidded to a stop, looking back at Kai. If you follow me for a moment, there's something I wanted to show you. She backed right over to Kai, where she was led through a clearing and into another open area in the forest. It was a wide circle-like area with trees covered in the rim, but within the center, a cone of light was shining down, projected upward by a mysterious object. How long has that been there? Mimi queried curiously. I was just sitting in my grove when this thing shot down from the heavens and planted itself there. I can't get it out, but maybe you can. Mimi looked at Kai, knowing she was being asked to try lifting an object by herself. Without so much an argument, she rarely approached the beacon, not sure if something would jump out at her or not. With no resistance, Mimi squinted at the object in the light, and upon figuring out it was... It's a guitar? Looks like you got one like I do. Mimi looked over the instrument closer. It was fairly large, with a pearly white body, the light reflecting off of it vibrantly. Shadow Rush stood by Mimi, silently admiring the beauty of the sight. Well, go on, Mimi lifted up. Mimi stood there for a moment. She felt strangely drawn to this instrument. In fact, with that same feeling she had experienced when she first laid eyes on the Light Force sword. A wonderful feeling in her, safely, something she wanted to feel for a second time. Reaching out into the light, she grabs the neck of the guitar, feeling its energy pulsing through her. With a firm tug, she successfully freed the instrument from its ensnarement in the ground, falling back on her behind as a geyser of light energy poured out from the ground, shooting up in the sky. Kai sprinted up to them, only to stop behind him to keep her distance from the uproar before them. The three of them stood back as it pierced the red haze above them, like a missile. On the ground, Mimi felt her new instrument pulsating with energy again, much stronger this time. Every cell in her body was coursing with this force as she stumbled to her feet. Mimi, I think that guitar is looking to be played. You might be able to boost the slight strength with it, Kai said. But how? It's only a guitar. Ah, that's where you're wrong, see. He's very much passionate about music, and if he's really alive, I imagine he still enjoys it so. When he created this world, he imbued the natural powers of the land with the remnants of his music, and accordingly, you can use that guitar of yours, as can I, to tap into the said powers, and perform some sweet magic with it. Mimi was uncertain how to think of this new capability of hers. Raising an eyebrow, she questioned Kai. Does this seem kind of silly? I know music can bring people together, and it's wonderful to listen to, but don't using it to create magic conjurations and the like seem silly? Well, it was his imagination that shaped this world. I know it's kind of weird to get used to, but I think you'll find out it'll help you in more ways than you could think. That does seem right, but I mean, another thing about playing a guitar. Oh, Mimi's statement was rather cut short as the guitar in her hands emitted a staggering burst of energy inside her.
made her legs quiver and her whole body shudder all over in near orgasmic bliss. Okay, let's just hope it doesn't result in anything else, if you understand the drift. Baffled, Rush asked the shivering girl, "Are you feeling alright?" "I'm feeling wonderful, Rush." In her blissful state, she almost didn't hear his voice calling to her again. "With this instrument in your possession, you now hold my knowledge on both it and the music that it echoes through this land. Use it well, and you two shall be in tune with your surroundings." As her trance broke, Mimi shook her head to clear her mind. She knew exactly what to do. Standing before the geyser light, still upraised before her, she fingered the frets of her holy instrument ready. Light, got me with the music of this land. What Mimi was not aware of was that Sora and the rest of her crew had begun their trek through the forest on their own little quest to catch up with their bubbly little savior. They had all stuck together on this path, Sora far ahead of the others. Tomo, Spludgeman, and his missus were helping clear any impending brush and fauna before them with both pyrokinesis and self-destructive capabilities, whilst Owen carried Chiho atop his head at her request. Sakaki and Osaka hung about the back to cover their trails, but to all of them, Jimmy was still being unmatched as if it were in his nature. Sora could not help but wonder about Mimi. Was she able to make her way through this forest? Had she been able to bypass whatever denizens lurked in the trees? And above all, was she safe? "Miss Sora?" Chiyo chirped. Sora looked behind her to address her. "Yes, Chiyo?" "How do you know where Mimi went through here?" "It's where I saw her walk into when she left our home. She's got to be here." "Do you think she's safe?" Sora held the gas back. The very thing that she was thinking about, and Chiyo brought it up in person. She tried to think of an answer, but that wouldn't find her. I'm certain she's alright, Chiyo. After all, she's got that life force sword, remember? "Oh yeah. And I'll bet she killed a big monster with it, didn't she?" "I bet, Chiyo." Sora chuckled. "Oh, I tell y'all, I bet if I can find her in no time at all." Jimmy chimed in. "Well, go on then. Why don't you run ahead of me right now and find her, runner boy?" Sora challenged. Shot down. Jimmy wisely shut up. Bonk. Sorry. Continuing to walk on, the group just stopped just as the geyser of light shot up a distance away from them, toward the tainted sky above them. They oohed and awed at the sight, Osaka being her natural oblivious self. "That's a big light. Do you think there are fireworks showing going on over there?" "Isn't that the part where the forest we thought was haunted by an unhappy spirit?" Sakaki added. Remembering that one detail suddenly sparked something in Sora's mind. Sakaki was right. Someone she knew and loved could be in mortal trouble. Mimi! Like that, she was off like a gazelle, speeding off into the forest, leaving the others dazed as to what could have set her off like that. But one thing was still certain: they had to keep up with her, lest she encountered something she couldn't contend with alone. Owen told Chiyo to hold on tight, and he's began to ride at quite a pace for someone of his girth and stature. Sakaki was right behind him, and the rest of the gang followed suit. The Smudgeman shouted a gleeful "Speed shoes!" as she ran. Back in the grove, Mimi felt herself playing the guitar like a bro, slim fingers slitting across the strings, playing every chord, note, and harmony like a veteran player. Hearing the melody in her head, her solo continued on, bringing power to the light shooting upward, like kindling to a fire. All around her, the land seemed to brighten. The trees regained leaves on many of the branches. Grass strained and filled with color. The atmosphere around them breathed life once again. All around her, the light was getting stronger. To think herself, little Mimi, was bringing about an energy bigger and brighter than anyone could imagine on this plane.
Still, a distant Sora was still adamant on getting to the source of this exuberance. Running as fast as her legs could carry her, she vaulted over low-hanging branches and bramble as if she had studied free running. Owen, despite his supposed size disadvantages, was still keeping up at a steady pace. As Sakaki ran alongside him, she popped a question. Should I even ask how you're able to run so fast? I'm chubby, but I'm quick, Owen replied, and the pursuit continued. As expected, Mimi's solo had come to its conclusion, and her magic had certainly left its mark. Gone now was the geyser of light, replaced with a patch of flora and fauna. I didn't give that ring a bell. But shooting her hands upward towards the sky, she let loose one blast burst of light, which shot over the trees, through the clouds, and self-destructing in the sky. In its wake, the bloody smog above them all cleared, the soothing glow of the moon now finally returning. Kai and Rush were now ecstatic with Mimi's performance. She had done what both of them had thought of as unthinkable. She restored life to a once lifeless plain, and her magic was still spreading through the rest of the forest. Sora the Trooper not much farther away from the grove when the light they had been following all but vanished. They all slid to a stop, kicking the dirt beneath their worn feet. Just began to wonder what killed the beacon. A wave of color blew past them. The previously deadened trees around them all burst with life, as did everything else around them. Shio giggled happily, seeing the forest so bright and colorful once more. In fact, everybody's moods had been lifted because of this. They all laughed together and cheered, and they kept on running, now certain that they would find Mimi in the heart of this forest. Once more in the grove, Mimi was left standing back to admire the aftermath of her work. Everywhere she looked, she saw what life she had restored to the woods. She smiled. She couldn't have felt more accomplished with the task she fulfilled. Shadowrush joined her side, as did Kai, both equally proud of her. Excuse me. You done good, kid. The sword will be restored to its former glory after all, thanks to you, Rush complimented. Then Mimi and Kai met eyes again. They both knew it. They had to part ways after so much had happened. Mimi still had a mission to carry out after all. The two grinned at each other and shared one last tight hug. I'm gonna miss you, Kai. Same here, Mimi, but if we ever meet again, I'll be right at your side when you need him most. Releasing each other, Kai guided Mimi and rushed to a smooth path and led out of the forest. Now, to find Song Li, you need to follow this road here and keep going east until you reach the mountains. I must warn you, she's smart, but she's quite the feisty one. I'll keep that in mind. We'll be off then, Mimi proclaimed, starting on the path with Rush right beside her. Oh, and thanks again. No problem, Mimi. They waved their goodbyes, and like that, Mimi was off. Once she's out of eyesight, Kai said to herself, "You'll go far, light girl, just don't give up yet." It was then Kai heard the sound of footsteps. Fast moving ones. All pushed, she turned around to see she had some visitors in the grove. Sora and her group. With Mimi gone, Sora knew she was too late. But once they saw Kai standing in the path, "Boy, do you look familiar," Tomo was the first to cry happily. "Oh, you guys," Kai replied. Oh, excuse me. She and Sora ran into each other, and both practically leapt into a bone-crushing hug. Kai could not have been more overjoyed that her friend still remembered her. "I missed you all so much." "As did we. We thought you forgot about us," Sora exclaimed. I thought you guys had probably forgotten about me." "Kinda hard to forget someone like you," Tomo jumped in. They all shared a laugh with their reunion, basking in the new warmth of the evening sky, but Sora then remembered they were still looking for someone. "Listen, guys, I know it's good to have you back with us, but is there a chance you see someone coming through here?" "I see a lot of people coming my way through the forest. When they ran, I'd rather not recall, but is there someone in particular you're looking for?" Osaka answered for Sora. Well, she's got brown hair, nice little ponytail too, amber eyes, and a white shirt. And a magic that's bestowed upon her that helped her fight me? Yeah, just like that, Nolan responded. Wait, what was that about a fight? Indeed, this person you speak of happened upon my grove when I was in a really bad mood. Major skirmish which ended with her nearly killing me, but bringing me back to health. Kai rubbed her chin and thought it's not for her. Wouldn't be happening to look out for one. What was her name? Mimi, was it? Sora's jaw dropped. How did you know about her? Well, I just told her she nearly killed me, didn't I? Besides, who else would you think could have fixed this place up? So she was here, Sakaki spoke. Did you see where she went? She's off to go find the rest of the four, since she already found me. Kai pointed to the path behind her. I was the one that pointed her in the right direction. She's found you already. She can't be much farther off, right? Shio questioned. One thing about that, you guys just came as she walked off. You literally just missed her. That statement hit Sora like a bag of hammers. Well, then what are we waiting for? He could continue following their friend. Sora rocketed past them down the path Kai has shown, not even stopping for a second. This left Kai and the others rather flustered. Is she alright? She certainly seemed dead set on catching up on our little friend. It might help that she and Meme's got a little thing going on, you know? So, Jimmy suggested. Kissy time, yes! Miss Explosion Man decided. Kissy time. Hang on a minute. Kiss time. Oh, give me a minute. I can't remember which one happens to be the lesbian. Oh, never mind. Oh. I blushed a brightest red her pale skin would allow, realizing what they meant. I'm sorry. Right then. Why don't you say we go catch up with Sora? You don't have to tell us twice, Owen concluded. And the chase was on once again. Everyone running off to their forest, laughing their heads off with an explosion man exclaiming, "Adventure!" After some time has passed, the path I found Shadow Rush made me still walking a good long mile or so. Even was only feeling a small soreness in her legs after walking for so long, but Rush was not as persistent. He could only go on for a little longer before his little hooves will give out beneath him. Panting, he breathed, "Mimi, can we please stop and rest? I really don't think I can walk anymore tonight. My wings are still hurting from being on those blanket branches." Alright. It's getting late anyway. They stopped at a small clearing, where there was enough light for both of them to rest under.
Mimi conjured up an orb of light to keep them warm, then lay down upon the cool grass. Rush curled up next to her, placing his hat aside. He quickly fell asleep, but Mimi remained awake. She stared up at the moon, the very same she had unveiled from its cloudy prison. She had done that. Rush, he snorted as he woke him. What is it, Mimi? You really think I did well tonight? I bet he's watching over you right now, and he's just as proud of you as I am. You really think so? Mm-hmm. It's still something getting used to. But you're more powerful than you think. This earned an improving word from Mimi. I better get some sleep now. We got a lot of ground to cover if we want to find Sung Lee. And last the two drifted off to sleep, off to their gentle embrace of their dreams. For Mimi, it was not so welcome. It was a simple sound that made Mimi's eyes shot open. It wasn't an otherworld growl or roar, or it was a clapping. The sound of someone clapping their hands, slowly together. But where? She carefully stood up, scanning her immediate area for the source of the sound. Even her surroundings were different. The previously green forest and moon were now replaced by the red, hazed, purgatory-like environment she had been in before. Shadows were all around her, but one stood from the darkness as she turned around. A silhouette. A female clapping her hands slowly, mockingly. Well done, light girl. You actually took care of Kai. Enjoy the feeling while you can, though. It'll be as far as you get in making a change in this place. I'm not giving up yet, Ophelia, and nothing you say will stop me. Oh, is that so? Do you really think you can make a difference? At all? Considering how restoring an entire forest with the power of its music, cliche as it may sound, your words has no meaning there. Plus, I know now that hooded figure from my other vision, and how you and him had a thing. Ophelia snarled, hearing this. Damn that guy in her running mouth. She never did want to shut up. Hey, that's my friend you're talking about. Do I sound like I care, light girl? Because I don't. Long story short, your efforts are still being wasted in your pursuit of restoring this forsaken plane. So you and your stupid little whores will either quit while you're ahead, or get the light of your snuffed out later on down the road. You really think I would quit after what I've proven thus far? Not a chance, Mimi retorted. Who's going to stop me now? I might. Mimi froze. She recognized that deep, inhuman voice. She got to reveal the blood turning to ice. She shut her eyes again, praying that she would wake up before she faced another nightmare. Even so, she turned around, trying to maintain a cool composure. With nothing but courage on her side, she opened her eyes. There, staring back at her, was a pair of hateful red eyes, glowing brightly in the darkness. She let out a small gasp. Have you forgotten about me, little Mimi? The poor girl was practically shivering now. Scared as she was, she did her best to keep it hidden. I'm not afraid of you. You're one of the four. So I am. The oldest one, if you recall young Kai's words. I'm not afraid of you. Oh, but you are, child. I can see the terror inside of you. Just my mere presence alone. You can't hide your precious emotions from me. A shade of a figure circled around her, as if taunting her further. Mimi didn't move, keeping her eyes shut, refusing to let his words dissuade her. A shade of a figure. Oh, fuck. And my Ophelia's words stand true. If you continue your quest to find us, you'll find only misery and suffering at the end of your road, because it will end, whether you expect it or not. She could feel her insides tear up. Their words were redundant to her, yet
The repetition was wearing her down. Come on, wake up, Mimi! Wake up! She chanted to herself. And Figure snickered. You honestly think he can rescue you this time? His glaive blades flashed before her, glinting what little light hung above him. I beg to differ, Mimi. I triggered her instinct. Almost immediately, no! In that opening she had, Mimi called upon her own weapon. In a flash, her sword swung out towards the figure, who let out a surprised cry of pain and jumped back, intending to cover his face. Not even this darkest of darks could block out her holy illumination. What made it worse for him was how he too recognized the blade. You, a mere misguided child, carrying his weapon! How did you come into possession of that? Mimi could swear she heard a tiniest hint of fear in his voice. I told you I have a destiny to fulfill. She pointed the blade closer to him, driving him further off to the point of resignation. You may have outwitted me this time, Mimi, but mark my words, when next we meet, it shan't be an encounter you will easily win. His words faded into nothingness, as did his figure. Mimi boldly smiled before her mind finally came at ease. She felt her whole body falling back down to the grass and back to sleep. The end. Finally concluded Chapter 2 of Shadowside. And a nice pizza just for that. How many chapters? I have not known. Narrator Shadow's still writing them. But at least we know we're good. I'm a little worn out, but I have enough to tell you. If any of you guys want to send me gifts, you don't have to, but it'd be a nice gesture, you know, for courtesy. I have the list posted up on Tumblr. It's revised because I forgot to add, I need a headset. Also, tomorrow's live stream, I got a hold of American Psycho. We'll check that out tomorrow. Might as well see also if one particular person's on, because I need to talk to him. So, Friday, there was a stream that was going to be happening, but it got a little canceled. I'm going to have to talk to him about that. Inverted is saying that there will probably be 2 or 3 more chapters, and number 3 will be up on about tomorrow. For now, I'll say good night, good luck, and have a happy holidays. I'll see you guys tomorrow.